Hello and welcome to the Duluth News Tribune's Bulldog Insider podcast. I'm your host, Matt Wellens, the Bulldogs hockey beat reporter at the News Tribune. Zach is out on assignment this week, and so is our producer, Wyatt Buckner. So if this sounds funky, if this looks horrible on YouTube, it is completely all my fault. My apologies to our guests this week. Hopefully this doesn't go off the rails. With me recording this myself, a little like the old days in the pandemic, though we do it on Zoom. This week on the podcast, we're joined by a pair of sophomore forwards from the UMD men's hockey team, a pair of USHL Clark Cup champions. Welcome to the podcast, Harper Bentz.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And Blake Bechen.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Quick bio on both of you guys. We'll start with Harper. Harper, you're from Moorhead, Minnesota, home of the Spuds, which is one of the greatest names of all time for high school mascots. You played for the Fargo Force with Zam Plant before coming to UMD, meaning is Duluth the farthest you've lived away from home now in your life here?
Yeah, no, I was very lucky to be able to play juniors in Fargo, so it's only 15 minutes away from Moorhead, so I was able to live at home and all that. So yeah, this is the furthest way I've been.
Fargo versus Moorhead, which is better? Better to live on the North Dakota or the Minnesota side of the border?
Hockey for sure, Moorhead, but kind of when you're going shopping or stores and all that, Fargo's a little bit bigger, so probably Fargo.
Yeah, living in Moorhead, you're part of Section 8, which I think is an underrated section in Minnesota for high school hockey. It kind of gets forgotten in the northwest part of the state. But there's some heavy hitters of teams out there. What's it like playing against some of those? They're smaller, but they punch above their weight. They're historic programs like War Road and Roseau and them. Yeah,
no, it's great competition out there. Moorhead obviously hasn't really had the winning that they've wanted, but last year obviously they were able to get it done. But just playing those teams, it's great competition. Obviously, Shoggs is from War Road, so getting to play against him, and Roseau had some good players when I was coming through too, and obviously I get to play with some good players too, so it's pretty special.
What do you remember playing against a young Jason Shogabay in high school?
Just the way he stick handles, like he's just kind of sees the ice so well, and even like obviously back in high school, he you could just tell he was just a step above everybody, and even just watching him now too, like you can see stuff you saw in high school out there on the ice.
Did you guys just play the one time? I think I was breezing through there. What's your record again? Poor Shoggs gets harassed by the Hermantown guys for losing that state championship to them. I don't know if you got his number as well.
Yeah, we played him sophomore year. I can't remember how that one went. I think it went to overtime, and then the other one also went to overtime. So I can't remember who won them, but I know we played some tight games.
Okay. You also played with Zam, who recently has been touting that he learned when he was in Fargo. That's where he learned how to jump cars. Who in Fargo taught him to jump cars out there?
Yeah, I'm not sure, but there was one road trip I remember. We came back and it was super late at night, and it was freezing cold, and probably at least 8 cars didn't start, and he was more than happy to jump every single one of them, bragging about it, and it made his day. So yeah.
Where's the weather worse? Like, is it like compare the weather of Fargo and Moorhead to maybe Duluth here? Did you upgrade weather coming out here to Duluth?
Very similar. Fargo's a little more flat, so you get
a little more,
very more flat,
very
right.
more flat.
Yeah, so you get a lot more wind, but it's very similar. Snowfall, kind of the cold, but I don't mind it.
Let's switch over to Blake here. You were teammates with Shoggs and Adam Guyon in Green Bay with the Gamblers before coming to Duluth. What do you remember about both those guys in Green Bay?
They were great. Shoggs, kind of similar to what Harper said. Just you could tell he had it in him and stuff like that. And same with Adam. Like they were both great teammates, great guys to be around. Everyone loved them. So it was nice, kind of. Once when I committed here, it was knowing that I'm going to have those two guys with me here. So it was great.
This is something I asked both of them because I'm a Green Bay guy, grew up around there. Did you get to Lambeau Field? Did you get to a Packer game?
Oh, yeah. I got to a lot of Packer games, but I hate the Packers. I'm a Bears fan, so I hate the Packers. But obviously Lambeau's awesome. Like, it doesn't matter what team you cheer for or who you like. Like, I feel like everyone's got to experience Lambeau one time because it's something else. Like, you're driving through the neighborhoods, and then all of a sudden you just appear, and Lambeau Field's right there, so...
I mean, yeah, you got to play a Bears fan playing right next to Lambeau.
Yep.
You sound like you warmed up a little bit.
Yeah,
to the Green Bay Packers.
Okay,
You're in Green Bay.
So my whole life, obviously, the Packers have kind of owned the Bears.
Yes, they have.
And Aaron Rodgers and
I'm
stuff like
avoid
that.
saying we, but yes, the Green Bay Packers have.
So when I was in Green Bay, the Bears still weren't good or anything. So it was kind of easier. Now I don't know if it'd be as easy because that it's kind of closed, and obviously the Bears beat them in the playoffs and stuff like that. So
we're gonna edit that part out of the podcast.
Yeah, I mean, it's just cool. Lambeau's it's a great experience. So
got Ella Pukala on the women's team, was out there in Ireland wearing her Bears jersey
I saw
around.
that. Yep.
So furious about that one. How does it, you're only the second, Blake, you're the second Iowa native to play for the Bulldogs. I believe Kobe Roth was the first, even though he claims War Road as his hometown. He was an Iowa native. How do you become a Bears fan in Iowa? You're not the first Bears fan I've heard from Iowa. Hockey writer Chris Peters, big Bears fan too.
So it's split. So obviously we don't have any sports teams near. So you have Chicago, which is 3 hours. You have Green Bay, which is 3.5, and then you have Minnesota, which is 4. So it's pretty split between all 3 teams. It's kind of just whoever your parents liked growing up, that's who you liked. So that's kind of how it is. So it's pretty split among all 3, but that's kind of how it is. So,
Harper, what'd you grow up out there in Moorhead? Vikings fan or?
Yeah, I'm a Vikings fan. Yep.
Okay, that's a tough spot right now.
Yeah.
Have fun watching Sam Darnold in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, no kidding.
Blake, I don't think people think of Iowa as a hockey hotbed, but you got 3 USHL teams there. You got the 2 minor league teams now. The NAL is there as well. What was hockey like for you growing up in Iowa?
So growing up, there weren't obviously it doesn't produce many high end players. So, but everyone knows the USHL and growing up, you kind of looked up to those kids. Everybody wanted to be one of those guys and play in the USHL and stuff like that. I mean, that has a big influence on obviously the state of Iowa for hockey and stuff like that. So everyone kind of that's what you looked up to. It wasn't necessarily NHL teams or anything like that, as you wanted to play in the USHL and be one of those guys. And so it's starting to grow a lot more. You're seeing a lot more kids, move past the high school levels and into juniors and into college. But definitely when I was younger, there wasn't much. So that's why, I had to move away when I was 16 years old. And even when I was younger than that, I was driving up to Madison and stuff to play just because that's what I had to do if I wanted to make it anywhere. So.
And you grew up in Dubuque, right?
Yep, Dubuque.
So who are some of the Dubuque Fighting Saints? Who are some of your favorite Saints growing up?
Zimgus Girgensson and Johnny Gaudreau were the 2. So funny story, I always wore number 23 growing up, and that's what number Zimgus Girgensson wore for the Saints, and he was always my favorite player, and that's who I looked up to and stuff like that. So,
Blake, I love hearing about players' recruiting processes. Take me through your recruitment to UMD. You won that Clark Cup in Youngstown, and then you committed while you're with Adam and Shoggs in Green Bay. And that was kind of late, I think people would say, the process. Was that November?
It was, it was around November. So obviously I got traded to Green Bay over the summer, and when I went to Green Bay, the first day I was there, obviously I still was uncommitted yet, and the head coach was like, hey, would you be interested in Minnesota Duluth or anything like that? And I was like, oh yeah, for sure. Growing up, UMD was always the top dog. They 3 national championships. Everyone respected Coach Sandelin and stuff like that. So Adam Krause reached out to me, and that's kind of where it all started, and he just was talking. We talked for a little bit, and then I took a visit out here. And once I took the visit, I just knew I wanted to be a Bulldog and saw everything that they had to offer. And 2 weeks later, I called Coach and let him know that I wanted to be a Bulldog. So
it was who was your coach that season? In Green
Mike
Bay?
Leone.
So he was the one that originally asked you about.
Yeah, he said that Minnesota Duluth, that he had a good connection with the coaching staff, and that they were interested in that they would be reaching out. So,
What other options did you have, or was he kind of the first one to hook you up with a school?
Well, I had like a couple. Like when I first started, like that year in Youngstown, there was a couple schools that I took visits to and stuff like that, and I just didn't really think those schools were right at that time. And I wasn't playing a lot in Green Bay. I was a younger guy, in Youngstown, I was a younger guy on the team, and we had a really, really, really good team that year. So I just wanted to wait until like I could establish myself and then see what my options were. And so when I started off in Green Bay, Duluth was one of the first to reach out, and I really respected that because I hadn't really shown anything like the year before that and stuff like that. So they saw it in me, and that's kind of, I respected that. So
Harper, take me through your recruitment. You committed almost like 2 months, I think it was, after Blake did, January 2024, I think.
Yep,
around there?
somewhere around there. Yep. Yeah, very similar. My first year in Fargo wasn't what I expected it to be. I left high school early, and it was a big jump for me. I talked to a couple schools, but nothing too serious. And going into my second year, I was gonna make the jump and make sure I had a better year. And I was starting to talk to a couple schools, and a couple schools that weren't really from Minnesota. I went out and took a couple visits just kind of to get away from it. Like, obviously, growing up in Minnesota, the Duluth, the St. Clouds, even Grand Forks is only an hour away from Moorhead. So the Sioux, knowing all those schools. But I wanted to kind of experience somewhere else, and I reached out to my advisor and said, Duluth would be a school that would interest me. And I kept playing, and Krause ended up reaching out, and I came out here for a visit, and I loved every second of it. I grew up playing. I played a couple tournaments here and all that, and just meeting Sandy, and obviously he has a good pedigree of winning hockey, and that's something that I want to do, is win games. And he's also great at getting guys to the next level, and that's something that I would also like to do.
When you guys committed, I'm curious, what was the timeline that UMD kind of laid out for both of you? Because I think when you guys had already committed, they had already signed like 6 freshmen or whatever for their next class, going back and reading my coverage, if it was accurate at the time. But you guys are both at an age where you could have went back to juniors again if you wanted to, though I think you both were in your second year at that point when you committed. Like, how does UMD handle and approach those things of when you commit? Do they give you a definite timeline? Is it flexible? What's it like? Blake, we'll start with you.
So obviously I committed. When I committed, I visited, I can't even remember when. It was about 2 weeks later, I think I committed. And at the time I committed, me and the coaching staff were both in agreement that I would go back to Green Bay for another year. And as the year kind of went on, it was the same thing. And then towards that end of the year, obviously they had some stuff happen here with some players and stuff like that, so they weren't 100% sure. And right when my year in Green Bay ended, Krause gave me a call and said that they would like me to come in. So I signed the next day, and that's kind of what it was. So
there was no second guessing. You were happy to make that.
Well,
jump.
yeah, like Harper said, Coach Sandlin's great at putting guys into the next level. So I was, whatever they had in mind for me, I was gonna listen. They have a huge kind of just of putting players to that next level. So I just was, whatever they wanted and whatever they thought was best for me is what ultimately was what decision I was going to make. So,
Harper, how about for you? How did they approach the timeline with you?
Yeah. Obviously, I went on my visit. I didn't wait. I'm trying to think. It was probably less than a week. I had a couple other visits lined up after, but after I went to Duluth, I was set. I wanted to go to Duluth, so I committed, and then mine was the same thing. I was actually, when I committed, it was kind of, the coaches told me that, you might come in next year or you might just go back for another year of juniors. And I was living at home, so I was all right with going back with juniors. Juniors it's a blast. So
Mom and Dad said you could come back home for another year?
Mom and Dad were going to have me for another year, yep. So, and they weren't charging me rent either.
Well,
so
there you go.
Good,
so you had a good living spot there.
Yep. But actually, Chupper, he was in town. I'm not sure. It was for some youth hockey tournament, and he asked me to stop by the rink, and I came over and watched a game with him, and he told me, he's like, hey, we're thinking of bringing you in next year. What are your thoughts on that? And I was obviously, like Blake said, like I trust Coach Sandy, I trust Krause, Chupper, and if they wanted to bring me in, like I knew they had a plan for me and kind of a plan set, so I was all for it.
Was mom and dad bummed that you were leaving home a year early, or what was their reaction?
Oh, I'm sure they were bummed a little bit, but they were excited for me, and it's not too far from home, so they were able to make it to a good amount of games.
Did either of you ever, at any point in your hockey careers, consider Canadian Major Junior? And is that something either of you, like if going back, I'm wondering, is that something you see now players can do that? They have a lot more options, these guys with the rules changes. Was it something you ever considered? And I'm wondering if it's something you ever thought about, like, maybe I want to do that. Harper, maybe not, because he had a rent-free living situation with the force there.
Yep. No, that was something that I never really considered. Like I said, I was from Iowa. I kind of grew up around the USHL, so that was always a goal of mine was to play there. And like before the rules changed, you couldn't go to college after, and I wanted to play hockey as long as I possibly could. And when you go to the USHL, you can play till you're 21, and then if you get lucky or enough, you can play college until you're 24, 25 years old. So that's kind of what I wanted to do, and I always wanted to get my degree. So, and now with the new rules, everything's different, so you can go to major, junior, and stuff like that. But yeah, that was kind of what my thought process was.
Yeah, Harper, how about you?
Yeah, during the
you're a little closer to Canada there.
A little bit closer, yeah. I talked to like a couple teams during like the WHL draft and all that, but I kind of let them know like it was a big goal of mine always growing up to play college hockey, and obviously, like Blake said, that wasn't an option. You couldn't go play juniors in Canada and then come over, or at least in the Western Hockey League. So I was always set on USHL or wherever my path took me, and then to college if I was lucky enough, and here I am.
Who was your favorite player in Fargo growing up there? Were you a big USHL guy as well?
Well, I actually grew up in Bismarck. So
you grew up in Bismarck.
Grew up
okay.
in Bismarck. I didn't move to Moorhead till 8th grade. So
okay.
I grew up going to like Bismarck Bobcat games, and I can't remember too many players there, but I remember watching and like wishing that could be me one day. And obviously, I ended up playing the USHL, so a little bit of a step up, but still just cool, like growing up going to those games. And obviously, when I moved to Fargo, I was able to make it to a couple games, but no like players that I really remember.
No players that you really remember. Okay. Harper, I've been selfishly saving this story and question for you until I got you on the podcast here this season. You had a tough start to the season in Alaska there, suffering. We should have termed it, we were terming it upper body. I remember Scott Sandelin originally was like, what do I term this one? We should have termed it internal body injury. Yeah. Take us through what happened there in Fairbanks on that second game and led to, I'm going to call it was a hellish experience for you on the way home.
Yeah, it was not enjoyable at all. Second game, I got a pass and was kind of looking back at it and reaching a little bit, and I got hit in the side, and I dropped. I didn't really think anything of it. Kind of just thought I got the wind knocked out of me. And, it was weird. So I got to the bench, and I was getting pain in my left shoulder. And I hurt a couple joints in my shoulder last year, so I was kind of thinking it was something similar to that. And I was wrong. I was in a lot of pain. Normally we stay the night, when we travel. But when we were in Alaska, and we decided that we were going to go back that night for I don't know why, but yeah, so we got to the airport, and as soon as we got off the bus to get to the airport, I was on all fours, throwing up outside the bus, just in terrible pain. Every time I stood up, I was almost passing out. It was terrible. And then the first flight was in the bathroom the whole time, just throwing up. It was brutal. And then the second flight was a little bit better, not much better. They're both 4.5-hour flights, so getting through that, and then I got home, and we were planning on going to the hospital the next day, and barely slept that night, and Sue's brought me to the hospital the next day, and our team doc looked at me, and we did some work. I didn't get any results right then, and I left, and Sue's drove me there. As she was dropping me off, she was like, I'll send you a text if it's nothing serious. If it's something serious, I'll send you a call. She drops me off, and like 30 minutes later, she sends me a call. She's like, hey, you haven't ate anything today, have you? And I was like, oh, no. And so I told her no, and she was like, all right, we're going to have to go to the emergency room. It sounded like you're going to need emergency surgery. And I was like, all right. And I still didn't know anything. Like, I knew it was something to do with my spleen, but I didn't know, like, kind of what. So I ended up having a grade 3 laceration in my spleen. So grade 4 and 5 is, like, for sure surgery, which would have been 6 months. Grade 3 is kind of just one of those where it's surgery sometimes, it's not. And so I ended up spending the night in the hospital. They did a bunch of blood work and all that, and they decided that I didn't need surgery, and it was just kind of, I had 6-7 weeks of kind of just doing absolutely nothing. Like, wasn't on the ice, was barely walking on the treadmill, just kind of, still got to travel with the team, so I was still with them. So, but it was a pretty miserable experience, yeah.
Yeah, so what I found out on our trip for Alaska is we took 2 a.m. You either take a 2 a.m. flight out of Alaska on Sunday morning, and what did we get back? I think around 4 o'clock or something like that,
Yeah.
I think eventually, because you got to connect through Seattle and then back to MSP. Or it's like you fly out. I know some fans took a noon flight, but then they didn't get back till midnight.
Yeah.
So when did you know it was your spleen after thinking originally it was your shoulder?
Well, so after our first flight, I was miserable on that flight. We had some paramedics come and look at me in the airport as we were waiting for our second flight. And they were like looking at me and they were like, all right, he's kind of he's managing his pain well. His blood pressure's normal. So they kind of like ruled out the spleen right away. They were like, it doesn't seem like he's bleeding from his spleen. So then I started wondering, I was like, maybe I'm just being a little baby about this. I don't know. Like, maybe I'm just being dramatic. But Sue's she was telling me the whole time, like, it could be my spleen. And she was kind of spot on with that. And then the paramedics kind of made her second to guess it. But she was right all along. And like I said, we went in and got it figured out.
Yeah, we need to clip that. Suze was right all along. She usually is.
Always is, yeah.
You mentioned it. What's it like rehabbing an internal injury like that?
Yeah, it's super weird. Like there was days where I was in lots of pain, and there was days where I felt good, but you still I couldn't do anything, and it's one of those where you can't really rush back. As I didn't know anything about my spleen, but it's a serious thing, so it was just one of those where I couldn't really rush back. I just had to make sure I was ready to go, and thankfully Suze and all the coaches were there for me and teammates. So the experience sucked, but I got through it with those guys.
Yeah, let's not take 2 a.m. flights out anywhere again. Yeah. Blake, what's your worst injury of your hockey career? Have you had anything comparable to that? Anything bad yet? I'm not trying to jinx you here or anything. Just
no, just my finger. I sliced my finger back when I was 11 years old. Maybe I needed 8 stitches or whatever. But that's about it, really. Haven't had anything that bad happen to me, so hopefully it stays that way.
8 stitches for an 11-year-old. That feels like your spleen was lacerated.
Yeah, it was very painful, and it was one of those deals where it happened while I was playing and didn't realize it until I took my glove off. And once I took my glove off, we don't even know when it happened, but once I took my glove off, that's when it really started to hurt. Once I saw the injury, but yeah, it did not feel good.
Yeah, that's one of those where once you see it, that's when you're, especially as an 11-year-old, then you're like, this is the worst thing ever. I like, Harper, that you originally told yourself, am I being dramatic and a wimp with a lacerated spleen there. All right, guys, we're going to call this the yearbook game to close this out. Some quick hitters here to get to know the team a bit. Who is the most likely on the team to have a successful career as a social media or YouTube influencer? You guys are on a team of character. This is a group of characters on here. Who could pull that off?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Bodsy, maybe?
Maybe Bods, yeah.
Riley Bodnerchuk.
Yeah. Riley Bodnerchuk?
Bods, yeah.
Yeah. YouTuber or social media influencer? You think like what's
I would say social media influencer.
social media influencer?
Yeah.
Okay. Up there with MK O'Brien over on the women's team. Who's most likely to win in Jeopardy? Who's the trivia geek on the team?
Probably Bods again.
Bods, yeah, he's smart. Zam would probably think he'd do
Zam,
good, but I don't think he'd do very good. I'd say Bods. Fish would be another one where they kind of just like we have a daily trivia question in the training room, and those guys are pretty spot on with that.
Yeah, I've seen those. Those are challenging. Who's most likely to be a coach?
Maybe Max, maybe?
Max?
Yeah, Max or Ty. I'd
Max
say
or
Ty
Ty,
as well, yeah.
Max or Ty?
Yeah.
I was going to say Max and Zam are both sons of a coach.
Yep.
But Max, like, you can see the kid of a coach in
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Most likely to be a junior or college hockey league commissioner.
Oh, boy.
That's a tough one.
That is, yeah.
Who could run a league?
Yeah, I don't know. I'd go Bods again. Like, he
Bods?
just seems...
Yeah, maybe Zam.
Zam,
I
yeah.
feel like Zam would like that.
He would, yeah.
Zam would enjoy being a commissioner.
Yeah.
No, for sure.
Bods would be the type of commissioner he could hand down those supplemental disciplines,
Yep.
and he's such a big guy, no one's messing. Or, well, they might yell at him like over the phone, but if he's there in person, they're not yelling at him. He could handle coaches yelling at him about the referees. Most likely to land a role as an extra in a hockey TV show or movie. Are either of you guys fans of Shoresy?
I never got into
I
it.
haven't seen it either.
No.
I've heard about it.
Yeah.
That's what I came to mind. Like, all right,
Okay.
which one of these guys most likely to land in Shoresy? But also, like a Miracle or anything like that. Who could land? We're not going to say starring role.
Okay.
Like, who can sneak in there as an extra?
Give me Bibbs. He's a funny
Yeah,
guy,
yeah,
pretty
Luke
confident.
Bibby.
Yeah,
Luke
he'd be all
Bibby,
right
yeah.
with it.
Yeah.
We had Bibby on the podcast here. He was good. He could put that supporting role.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Would either of you guys do, like, if they had an open call out, if a movie in Minnesota or something like that, looking for just some hockey players, some extras? Would you be willing to do that? Would you answer that call?
I don't know. Yeah, probably. I probably
yeah.
would, yeah.
You'd go for
as
it,
long as
Blake?
my role wasn't like that big.
I agree 100%.
Yeah.
I don't need to be a movie star.
No.
You don't need to be the movie star. But
No.
you'll be background.
I'll be in the
Yeah.
background. Yeah.
Mighty Ducks actually use like stunt doubles and stuff like that for the actors. Though I've found on social media that they'd use right-handed doubles for the guys who were left-handed, and it was just awful and such. Guys have just totally broken down the movie and ruined it more than it already was. Most likely, Blake, you're a business major. Harper, you're a finance major. This question might be more in your guys' category. Most likely to become a Fortune 500 CEO.
Ty?
Sure. Yeah. I go.
Ty?
I'll go Ty.
Yeah, Ty.
Maybe
Ty or
Stacks.
Ty Stacks.
Stacks. Yeah.
Yeah,
Trevor
those guys.
Stokoyak. Joey,
Smart
maybe.
guys. Yeah. Do well in school. Yeah. They
Yeah.
just seem. Yeah.
Entrepreneurs, like
Yeah.
who's the business majors? Who's coming up with stuff out there? Who's coming up with plans already? Who's got stuff already started?
I mean, I live with Trevor, so like I hear him talk about kind of stuff, and like, oh, we should invent that or stuff like that. So maybe him.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah,
him. All
yeah.
right. From that Hermantown group, most likely mayor of Hermantown.
Oh.
This is a long time question. Krause owned this for a long time as most likely the next mayor of Hermantown if they're going to elect a hockey player, which I feel like a hockey player would do good in an election out there.
Yeah.
I think Zam would be the only one that would run
that's who
for
I
it,
would
too,
say.
yeah.
Yeah.
Zam would run. Zam
Yeah,
for
Zam
sure
would
would
run
run
for
for it.
it. Yeah.
All right. You guys got 3 guys that are nominated for the Hobie fan vote. I also threw Shogs, as they only allow 3 players. If they could do 4, I'd throw Shogs out there. I'd even say maybe Kleber. You could throw in there. Most likely to win the Hobie now or in the future. Who you guys got on the team?
Max.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
the easy answer is Max, but like, really, well, the 3 guys who are nominated right now in Shogs, like really all of them could win it. Like if it was a collective award, just give it to Max, Zam, and Shogs. So.
Just give it to the
for sure.
entire line.
Yeah, they're all huge parts of the team. They
Yeah.
all do.
Yep.
They all do their thing. So it's cool that they're all up for it.
Can we get the entire line as the Hobie hat trick? That would be
no kidding.
The question there. All right, guys, we'll end it there. That's all the time we have on the podcast this week. Thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having us.
You can find more episodes of the Bulldog Insider podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Like us, subscribe, and rate us. For more Bulldogs hockey coverage, visit DuluthNewsTribune.com/Bulldog Insider. Subscribe to gain access to all of our coverage all season long. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Thank you for listening. We will catch you next week.